Chapter 2630. Many people were deep in thought. Indeed, one's talent and comprehension could only be seen through such a test. In the martial god realm, talent and comprehension were the most important. That was why they had retained their divine power levels, and given them a year to comprehend the incomplete divine skills before engaging in battle. In this way, those with high levels of divine skills and high comprehension would be able to stand out. Mastering high-grade divine skills was talent. However, comprehension was also very important. This was because one's divine skills were not innate and could be cultivated. Some terrifying and exquisite divine skills could allow one to cultivate royal-grade divine skills, sacred-grade divine skills, and even divine-grade divine skills. The Qin Tian 13 sects all had such terrifying divine skills. As long as one cultivated to an extremely high level, one could cultivate high-grade divine skills. It was said that the divine skills of the three overlords could cultivate divine-grade divine skills to the highest level. Therefore, if a person's divine skills were not high but his comprehension was amazing, his future would be limitless. Of course, some people did not cultivate these divine skills and naturally cultivated high-grade divine skills. There were many people. For example, Lu Ming, Tong Shi'er, and the others were like this. The disciples the Qin Heavenly 13 sects wanted to recruit were those with high levels of God force, and those with exceptional comprehension abilities. Also, let me tell you, some of you came from some big forces, and may have already cultivated some incomplete divine skills. However, in the dreamland space, you are not allowed to use the incomplete divine skills that you have cultivated. You can only use the incomplete divine skills that you have comprehended in the dreamland space. If you violate this rule, you will be eliminated and the Qin Tian 13 sects will never recruit you. Do you understand? The middle-aged man's voice echoed throughout the square. Understood. Many people replied loudly. Good, that's all for now. I wish you all good luck. After saying this, the middle-aged man and the others turned and left. After the middle-aged man and the others left, the others in the square also slowly dispersed. Lu Ming and the others also returned to their residence. Not long after they returned to their residence, a large piece of information appeared on the jade token. It was all about the test and some rules. Lu Ming and the others carefully read through it again, and then made preparations. There were still 3 days before the examination would begin. Not only them but everyone else was also actively preparing for it. In a huge courtyard, there was a group of people. These people were all tall and sturdy, and their bodies looked as if they were made of metal. These people were a branch of the Vajra race, one of the most terrifying races in the primitive universe. The Vajra clan was a very powerful clan in the primitive universe. Among the countless clans in the primitive universe, it was ranked in the top 10,000. In the primitive universe, there was a list of 10,000 races that listed the 10,000 strongest races in the primitive universe. The Vajra race was one of them. However, the Vajra clan's main branch wasn't located in the Qin Heavenly Starfield. The Qin Heavenly Starfield was just a branch of the Vajra clan. At this moment, dozens of Vajra tribe members were surrounding a young Vajra tribe member. This young man from the Vajra clan was even more burly. He was 3 meters tall. Jin Sheng, you are a rare genius of my Vajra race's Qin Tian branch. This time, you must get into the top 3 in the Qin Tian 13 sects assessment, and join one of the 3 hegemonic powers. An elderly member of the Vajra race instructed. Don't worry, Patriarch. It's only the top 3. I have full confidence. Jin Sheng said with a confident smile. On a mountain in Wanling City, this place was bought by a group of Tigermen. The Tigermen were just a small clan in the primitive universe. They were far from being in the top 10,000. However, in the Qin Tian star field, the strength of the Tigermen was not to be underestimated. Roar. At the peak of the mountain, a young Tigerman let out a long roar. The wind and clouds surged, and his aura was wild. This time the top 3. No, I want to fight for the first place. The young Tigerman's eyes were like lightning, filled with a domineering aura. In the north of Wanling City, there was a lake. The lake wasn't big, but it was very clean. It was like a mirror, and one could see the fish in the lake clearly. On the shore of the lake, there was a simple pavilion. At this moment, There were two figures in the pavilion, looking at the calm surface of the lake. One of them was a white-haired old man in a white robe, looking like an immortal. The other person was a young man in his 20s. This young man was handsome. He was also in a white robe, looking like an elegant young master. Are you confident in the assessment of the Qin Tian 13 sects? The old man asked the young man. The young man's name was Ling Huyi. According to the rules this time, I have full confidence that the first place will be mine, Ling Huyi said. His face was calm, without the slightest trace of arrogance. It was as if he was just stating a fact. Good. With your talent, as long as you give it your all, the first place will be yours. Moreover, you will definitely be able to enter the 3 overlord forces, and even be heavily nurtured. The white-haired old man stroked his beard and looked at Ling Huyi with satisfaction. If he didn't enter the dreamland space and fought outside, Ling Huyi might not have such a big advantage. However, the rules this time would give him a year to comprehend and cultivate the incomplete divine skill. This was Ling Huyi's biggest advantage. Ling Huyi's comprehension was the strongest the old man had ever seen. Although the grade of Ling Huyi's divine power wasn't high, that was because he lacked opportunities and divine skills. However, Ling Huyi's terrifying comprehension could completely make up for it. The old man was full of expectations. As long as Ling Huyi joined the 3 overlord forces, he would be heavily nurtured and cultivate divine skills. Ling Huyi would definitely be able to break through to a terrifying realm. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. On this day, Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Xian Yanjuan, Tong Xie, and Dandan gathered in a room and sat cross-legged in a circle. They didn't need to go to a specific location to participate in the assessment. As long as they were in Wanling City, the Jade Token would bring them into the dreamland space. Buzz. 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 At this time, the Jade Tokens in Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's hands vibrated slightly, emitting a bright light that floated above their heads. Then, a beam of light fell from the Jade Tokens and enveloped them. Then Lu Ming and the others felt their minds and souls being sucked into the Jade Tokens. Everything before them was pitch black. Almost an instant later, their eyes lit up and they opened them. As soon as they opened their eyes, they found that they were on a huge platform, and in front of the platform was a field of stone tablets. Countless stone steels stood tall on the vast land. Each tablet was 100 meters tall, and there were some words and pictures engraved on each tablet. There were too many tablets. At a glance, there was no end to them. No one knew how many tablets there were. Is this the incomplete divine skill on the stone tablet? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. They were going to stay here for a year to comprehend and cultivate the incomplete divine skills. Chapter 26:31. At this moment, Lu Ming discovered that a badge had appeared in front of their chests. On the badge was a picture of a ruin made of jade. This was their symbol. Those who entered from different galaxies all had a badge with a different picture on their chests. My cultivation has not changed at all. Following that, Lu Ming carefully sensed his body and discovered that his cultivation had not changed at all. He was still a 7-star heavenly emperor, and his sovereign power was surging. Of course, it was impossible for them to bring their weapons, storage rings, and so on. In fact, they were not allowed to bring weapons in this competition. If they wanted to use weapons, they had to condense divine power and rely entirely on their own abilities. Are your cultivations being suppressed? Lu Ming looked at Xian Yanqing, Xian Yanjuan, Tong Xie, and Dandan. It has been suppressed to level 1 empty god realm, but our divine power level has not changed. Xian Yanqing said. Me too. Tong Xie also nodded. Mine has not changed. Dandan said. His cultivation had originally been at level 1 empty god realm, so it had not changed. Lu Ming nodded. It was indeed the same as what the rules said. At this moment on the platform, many figures flashed and rushed toward those stone tablets. Time was limited. They only had a year's time. A year's time was too short to comprehend an incomplete divine skill. They had to make the best use of their time to find an incomplete divine skill that was suitable for them, and seize the time to cultivate. Every moment they cultivated, they might be able to reach a higher level. At that time, when they fought with others, they would be able to gain an advantage. Millions of people rushed into the vast stone tablets to find a divine skill that was suitable for them. Lu Ming and the rest also rushed down the platform and toward the stone tablets. Soon they came under the first huge stone tablet. At this moment, under this stone tablet, there were already two youths carefully looking at it. On the stone tablet, there were lines of words and pictures engraved. This was a kind of palm technique that leaned towards gentleness. Lu Ming and the rest glanced at it and directly passed it. It was not suitable. They continued to walk forward. As they walked, they attracted the attention of many people. The main reason was because the two sisters, Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan, were simply too beautiful when they walked together. The two of them looked exactly the same. It was hard for them not to attract the attention of others. What two beautiful women, and they look exactly the same. Look at their badges, they are from the Chaotic Star River. I didn't expect that there would be such a beautiful woman in the Chaotic Star River. Who is that person? He actually walked together with such a beautiful woman. Around them, many people were discussing animatedly as they looked at Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan with fervent eyes. Tong Xier could also be considered a stunning beauty. However, she paled in comparison to Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan. Ever since Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan had broken through to the martial god realm, their temperaments had become more and more extraordinary. Even people who were similar in appearance would be inferior to them. Many people looked at Lu Ming with envy, jealousy, and hatred. Although Dandan was beside Lu Ming, Dandan looked like a 16 or 17-year-old boy, and was wearing a Taoist robe. Naturally, he was ignored by others. Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan looked indifferent. They ignored the gazes of others, and focused on finding suitable divine skills. What two beautiful women! Not far away, more than a dozen burly figures looked at Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan with fervent eyes. These dozen or so people were all elites of the Tiger clan. The Tiger tribe did not have the appearance of a tiger. That was not the case. They looked very similar to humans, but there were stripes on their faces. They were tiger stripes. Each of them was more than 2 meters tall, and had thick hair all over their bodies. How can we miss such beauties? Let's go and get to know them. One of the Tiger tribe youths with golden hair smiled and walked toward Lu Ming and the others. The other Tiger tribe youths laughed and followed him. In a flash, the Tiger tribe youths stood in front of Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming and the others also stopped. The Tiger tribe youths looked at Xian Yanqing, Xian Yanjuan, and Tong Xier without any scruples. From the chaotic galaxy? I didn't expect there to be such beauties in the chaotic galaxy. We are the elites of the Tiger tribe. My name is Hu Mao. Beauty, how about we be friends? The golden-haired youth from the Tiger Man race revealed a confident smile. Lu Ming and Dandan almost laughed out loud. Hu Mao. This name was quite profound. However, Xian Yanjuan didn't want to laugh. She looked cold and scolded. Get lost. Oh, you're quite hot-tempered. However, the Tiger tribe likes hot-tempered people the most. Brothers, don't you agree? Hu Mao didn't take it seriously and teased. Yes, the hotter the better. It's fun to play with. Ha ha. The other Tiger tribe youths laughed. On the side, the others looked over as if they were watching a show. I've already told you to get lost. Didn't you hear me? Are you deaf or what? Get lost immediately. At this time Lu Ming scolded. The smile on the Tiger tribe youth's face suddenly disappeared. His eyes flashed coldly. Boy, what did you say? How dare a trash from the chaotic galaxy talk to us like that? Are you tired of living? I'll give you 3 seconds to get lost. Get as far away as you can. What right do you have to stand next to two beauties? The Tiger tribe youths roared, their bodies flashing with cold killing intent. 3, 2, 1. Lu Ming said disdainfully, counting the time for the other party. After 3 seconds, Lu Ming stepped forward, pulled Xian Yanqing's little hand and said disdainfully, a group of idiots. Provocation, disdain, ridicule. This was blatant ridicule. The Tiger tribe youths burst out with killing intent. Boy, immediately kneel down and admit your mistake. Slap yourself 100 times. Otherwise, I'll let you die without a burial place. Hu Mao was furious, revealing a mouthful of jagged fangs. Oh, if you have the ability, do it. Lu Ming said disdainfully. You. Hu Mao and the other Tiger Tribe youths all widened their eyes and glared at Lu Ming. However, they didn't dare to make a move. The assessment hadn't started yet. In this year's process of comprehending and cultivating the incomplete divine skill, no one was allowed to make a move. Whoever made a move would lose the qualification. If not, Hu Mao and the others would have already made a move and torn Lu Ming into pieces. Boy, you have guts. Just you wait, in the assessment 1 year later, don't meet my Tiger Tribe people. Otherwise you will die miserably. Hu Mao said coldly and then said to the other Tiger Tribe members, "Brothers, go and inform the other Tiger Tribe members. In the future assessment, if you meet this person, kill him without mercy." Okay, there are so many Tiger Tribe members, he's dead. He will die miserably. The other Tiger Tribe members shouted. Chapter 2632. A Bunch of Fools. Xiaoqing, let's go. Lu Ming pulled Xian Yanqing, Xian Yanjuan, Tong Xier and Dandan along with him. They passed by the Tiger Tribe and headed towards the depths of the stone monument forest. The youths from the Tiger Tribe were so angry that their lungs almost exploded. They gritted their teeth. This kid is too impulsive. He actually dared to offend the Tiger Tribe's prodigies. I guess he's a top genius in the chaotic astral river. He's used to being arrogant. But in the chaotic astral river, he's nothing in the Qintian starfield. That's right. The Tiger Tribe is a big tribe in the Qintian star field. There are hundreds of galaxies in the Qintian star field, and the Tiger Tribe occupies one of them. They're extremely powerful. I heard that there are thousands of Tiger Tribe's prodigies participating in the assessment of the 13 sects. That's right, there are indeed a few thousand of them. Even if they are evenly divided into 20 regions, the number of Tiger Tribe members in each region will definitely not be small. Moreover, I have also heard that in this generation of Tiger Tribe, there is a peerless genius who possesses divine power. That brat will die miserably. It's unwise to show off in front of a beauty. In the surroundings, the people who saw this scene began to discuss spiritedly. These discussions naturally reached Lu Ming's ears. However, Lu Ming only smiled faintly and didn't care. When they were divided into 20 regions, he would be more than happy if the Tiger Tribe came looking for trouble with him. Why wouldn't he be happy if they gave him points? Lu Ming and the rest wandered around the stone monuments, looking at them one by one. Not long after, Xian Yanjuan stopped in front of a stone monument. This stone monument was engraved with a sword technique. Just by looking at it, it seemed as if there was a burst of holy sword light bursting out. It's not a bad sword technique. I'll choose this one, Xian Yanjuan said. Then he stood in front of the monument and looked at it seriously. Lu Ming and the rest continued to search. This forest of stone monuments was very large and contained a large number of incomplete divine skills. Incomplete offensive divine skill, incomplete defensive divine skill, incomplete agility divine skill. It had everything. After more than a day, Dandan and Tong Xier found suitable incomplete divine skills and started to cultivate them. I'll cultivate this sword technique. Xian Yanqing walked to a stone monument. This stone tablet also recorded a type of sword technique. The sword technique was swift and fierce, and its demonic aura soared into the sky. Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan were both good at swordsmanship. Both of them chose a sword technique of the sword divine skill. Lu Ming was left alone. Lu Ming continued to wander around. Lu Ming discovered that most of the people chose the incomplete attack type divine skills. That's right. Even if it's an incomplete divine skill, the difficulty of cultivating it must be extremely shocking. They only had a year's time. Naturally, they would choose to cultivate offensive divine skills to increase their offensive power, so that they could kill their opponents as soon as possible and gain points in the assessment a year later. I'll take this one. Lu Ming came to a stone monument. This stone monument recorded an incomplete divine spear skill. There was no one under the stone monument. Lu Ming chose this one. Lu Ming looked at it carefully. This spear skill did not have a name. In fact, the incomplete divine skills here did not have a name. They were all evolved from complete divine skills by some experts of the Qin Tian 13 sects. For experts above the peak of the empty god realm, it did not have any practical use. Experts of that level could already cultivate complete divine skills. However, for experts below the peak of the empty god realm, it was quite useful. What an exquisite divine skill. After comprehending it for a while, Lu Ming felt a little emotional. Divine skills were various exquisite uses of divine power. It was very powerful and exquisite. It was much more difficult to comprehend than the various super skills in the heaven realm. There were a total of 7 levels to this incomplete divine skill. However, it was very difficult to cultivate the first level. Lu Ming threw away all distracting thoughts and focused on comprehending it. He comprehended it for a month. After a month, Lu Ming still did not enter the divine skill. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Lu Ming used his sovereign power to form a long spear. The long spear vibrated at a strange frequency. Sometimes it would whip out, sometimes it would stab forward. Rays of spear light flickered. However, halfway through his cultivation, Lu Ming stopped. Not right, still not right. Once this spear skill is successfully cultivated, one spear will be able to release layers of power. The power will stack up and the power will be boundless. Moreover, there are many different variations. However, I still can't find that feeling. The divine power circulation is wrong. Thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind as he summarized the gains that he had made during his cultivation. Half a day later, Lu Ming started to comprehend it again. The difficulty of cultivating an incomplete divine skill was too high. Even with Lu Ming's talent, it was difficult to comprehend it. One could imagine how difficult it would be for others. Time passed quickly and another month passed. Buzz. Lu Ming's long spear swept out. Terrifying rumbling sounds burst out in the air. After 3 rumbling sounds, the rumbling sounds disappeared. Success. I've finally reached the first layer. Lu Ming was overjoyed. After 2 months of bitter cultivation, Lu Ming had finally cultivated this incomplete divine skill to the first layer. At the first layer, one spear strike would instantly release 3 layers of power. It was extremely powerful. At the same time, there were 3 variations that were unpredictable and impossible to guard against. If one cultivated it to the second layer, one spear strike would release 5 layers of power and have 5 variations. The higher one cultivated it, the more powerful it would be. Continue. Lu Ming continued to comprehend. After cultivating it to the first layer, the difficulty of cultivating it became even greater. For any divine skill, the further one progressed, the more difficult it would be. If the first layer was already so difficult, one could imagine how difficult it would be later. Lu Ming cultivated wholeheartedly, and did not care about outside matters. Half a year later, Lu Ming finally broke through to the second layer of this divine spear art. At this point, Lu Ming and the rest had been here for 8 months. There were still 4 months before the assessment began. For months passed in the blink of an eye. 1 year's time was up. Unfortunately, Lu Ming's divine spear art was still stuck at the second layer, and had not reached the third layer. Buzz. 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 Suddenly, there was a constant buzzing sound in this world. In the sky, runes appeared one after another, dazzling and colorful. It's about to begin. It's finally about to begin. Many people were whispering. Some were nervous, but some were looking forward to it. Suddenly, pillars of light appeared in the sky and shrouded everyone. Then everyone followed the pillars of light and flew into the sky, disappearing. At the next moment, Lu Ming discovered that he had appeared in a room. Is this the assessment area? Lu Ming muttered. The assessment this time was divided into 20 areas. More than 1 million people would enter 20 different areas to fight. As for which area they would enter, it was completely random. Chapter 2633. At that moment, in Wanling City, the market where the announcement had been made a year ago was filled with people. Densely packed, countless people had gathered here. At that moment, 20 huge screens appeared in the sky above the empty space. Names were displayed on these screens. There were more than 50,000 names on each screen. They were all the names of the people who had taken the test. Behind each name, there was a galaxy corresponding to that name. For example, Lu Ming's name was in the 20th region. Behind his name were the words Chaotic Galaxy. Xianyanqing was in the first region. Xianyanjuan was in the third region. Tongxier was in the 10th region. Dandan was in the 18th region. Quick, find out which region Konglong is in. Feng'er and Xiao are in that region. In the crowd, Kongji, Situhaonan, and the others began to search. With their eyesight, they could see thousands of lines with a single glance. Their speed was astonishing. In a short while they found the regions where Konglong, Situxiao, Situfeng, and the others were. This time, the chaotic galaxy had gathered thousands of people under the leadership of the Cloud Peak Pavilion's Pavilion Master. They were all there to watch and gathered together. The ancestor of techniques was among them. He was not far away from Konglong and the others. They were not the only ones. People from other galaxies had also found the participants from their respective factions. Now the names were in a mess and appeared randomly. However, once the battle began, the names would be arranged according to the points. The one with the highest points would be ranked first. The battle would end after 3 months. The top 100 Sky Prides in each region would win. The rest would be eliminated. Only the points were counted. It did not matter if one was killed. As long as one had enough points and was ranked in the top 100, one could advance even if one was killed. It's starting. Wuxia has points in the 6th region. That's fast. He already has 3 points. Someone shouted. In the beginning, each person only had 1 point. 1 point would be awarded for each person killed. In other words, Wuxia had already killed 3 people in such a short time. In the other regions, Sage Jean is not slow either. The battle has begun. Many people have points. The names on the 20 screens were flickering non-stop. Some names directly appeared in the first, second, or even the front. Behind the name, the corresponding points would appear. More than 1 million names kept flashing. It was only because everyone present was an expert that they could see it clearly. If it were an ordinary person, they would have been dazzled at first glance. The 20th zone. Lu Ming opened the door and walked out. Am I in a city? Lu Ming guessed that he was in a courtyard. He could see other tall buildings in other places. Wait, you can't fly in this area. Lu Ming was just about to soar into the air to observe the situation, when he suddenly felt that his body was as heavy as a mountain. He couldn't fly at all. Flying was prohibited in this area. Boom. Suddenly, a violent roar came from a tall building not far away. The building roared and the energy was rampant. The walls exploded. Lu Ming saw 2 figures fighting fiercely. Their battle prowess was on par with each other, and it was hard to tell who would emerge victorious in the fierce battle. Bang! At this moment, the door of the courtyard Lu Ming was in was blasted open. Broken wood flew everywhere, and a tall and burly figure walked in. This person glanced at the badge on Lu Ming's chest and sneered ferociously. A piece of trash from the chaotic galaxy happens to be the first person I kill, and my first point. Bang! Bang! The man stepped out and condensed a saber with his divine power. He slashed the saber violently toward Lu Ming. This was an incomplete divine skill that he cultivated. The saber light was extremely fast and filled with a violent aura. Lu Ming's expression was calm. He formed a long spear with his divine power and thrust it forward. Whoosh! This spear was as fast as lightning. In an instant, 5 changes occurred. The other party wanted to block, but he didn't know how to do so. Poochie. Lu Ming's long spear pierced through the other party's forehead and came out. Yu. The other party's eyes were wide open and his face was filled with disbelief. Originally, he wanted to kill Lu Ming and let Lu Ming become his first point. He didn't expect to die at the hands of Lu Ming in one move. How could a person from the chaotic galaxy be so strong? Sorry, what you said is exactly what I wanted to say. It's your honor to be able to contribute to my first point. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Then his long spear shook and the other party's body was torn apart, turning into energy and dissipating. Of course, the rules this time said that there were 2 chances. The other party could revive in another place and continue to fight. If he died the second time, there would be no more chances. The points would be the same as the points. After killing one person, the badge on Lu Ming's chest suddenly glowed faintly. A message appeared in Lu Ming's mind. Lu Ming, Zone 20, from the chaotic galaxy. Current points, 1 rank, 28560. So this badge has this use. Lu Ming smiled. In this way, he would know his ranking at all times. 3 months is more than enough. Lu Ming smiled and walked out of the courtyard. Walking out of the courtyard, there was a wide street. On both sides of the street, there were all kinds of buildings. At this moment, the battle between the two people had already ended. One of them was killed, but the other one was also injured. He didn't dare to stay and secretly escaped. Swish. Lu Ming's figure moved and rushed to a house. Then he ran on the house. It was very dangerous to do so, as it would be easy to be targeted by others. However, Lu Ming did it on purpose. Instead of finding those people one by one, it was better to let others find him. Sure enough, someone made a move. In one of the houses, a figure, like an arrow leaving the bow, pounced on Lu Ming. At the same time, a sharp sword light pierced towards Lu Ming's forehead. Good. Lu Ming backhanded his spear. Clang. The long spear hit the other party's sword light. The other party's body shook violently and he was thrown back. Blood spurted from his mouth, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. He could clearly feel that Lu Ming was only a transformation void martial realm martial artist, and had not reached the empty god realm. Although his cultivation was suppressed here, he was still a level 1 empty god realm martial artist. However, he was thrown back by Lu Ming and was severely injured. Kill! Lu Ming stomped his feet and his body flew out. At the same time, a sharp spear light pierced through the void and killed the other party in the air. It was an easy kill. Lu Ming's expression didn't change. The other party only had ordinary divine power. Although Lu Ming's cultivation was lower than the other party's cultivation was suppressed to level 1 empty god realm. It was easy for him to kill the other party. This was under the premise that the battle formula couldn't be used here. If the battle formula could be used, Lu Ming's strength would be even more shocking. Chapter 2634. Here, he could only use his own divine power, and the incomplete divine skills that he had comprehended before. Of course, there was also his own combat skills and combat awareness. Even the battle formula could not be used. Outside, the battle formula played an important role in Lu Ming's ability to cross so many realms to kill his enemies. Even if he did not trigger the doubling of his combat ability would be greatly enhanced when he cast the Battle Word Sutra. Now that the battle formula could not be used, Lu Ming's combat strength would be greatly affected. However, Lu Ming had the power of sovereign, so Lu Ming was not afraid of any opponents. After killing his opponent, Lu Ming's points increased by 1 point, becoming 2 points. His ranking also rose by a few thousand, rushing to 24897. This was just the beginning. Every point could pull many ranks apart, because many people only gained 1 point by killing one person. Later on, when everyone's points increased, they would gain a few points, and the ranking would rise very slowly. Lu Ming continued to run on the roof, attracting people's attention. To be honest, Lu Ming's cultivation and the Chaotic Galaxy badge could really make people lower their guard. When others saw that Lu Ming came from the Chaotic Galaxy, and that he had the cultivation of the Transformation Void Martial Realm, they immediately saw him as a free point. How could they hold themselves back and attack him? During this period, there was even a genius with King-grade divine power who attacked Lu Ming, but he was killed one by Lu Ming, turning into Lu Ming's points. In terms of divine power, these people were not as good as Lu Ming. Moreover, their incomplete divine skills were only at the first level, while Lu Ming's incomplete divine skills had been cultivated to the second level. How could they be a match for Lu Ming? Very soon, Lu Ming's points increased to 23 points. His ranking also soared to more than 2,600th place. He was getting closer and closer to the top 100. Wanling City. So fast. In the 20th region, Lu Ming's progress is so fast. It's really amazing. He's already in the top 2,000. How long has it been? If he keeps rising like this, he'll have a chance to reach the top 100 in the 20th region. I remember that this Lu Ming should be a member of the Righteous Army. Many people from the Chaotic Galaxy cried out in surprise. Then many of them looked at the ancestor of techniques with envy. Even the Yinfeng Pavilion master looked at Feng Zhu in surprise. However, the ancestor of technique's expression was calm. In his heart, Lu Ming was definitely going to join the Qin Tian 13 sects. If a person with the power of a sovereign couldn't join, then who could? This is just the beginning. Don't be happy too early. That's right. This competition will last for 3 months. If someone were to be killed, their points would be reduced by half. Kang Ji and Situ Haonan were somewhat displeased as they spoke coldly. The ancestor of technique softly smiled and ignored him. In Zone 20, Lu Ming's score was still increasing. Moreover, the more points he gained from killing others, the more points he would gain. This was because some people already had 3 to 4 points, 5 to 6 points. Not only would he gain the points of killing another person, but he would also gain half of the opponent's points. Lu Ming's points continued to increase. 28 points. 32 points. 50 points. 2 days later, Lu Ming's points soared to 88 points. And his ranking shot up to 86th in one go. In Zone 2086. With this ranking, he would be able to advance. Of course, that was only after the 3-month deadline. Outside, Kang Ji and Situ Haonan's expressions were ugly. One had to know that Situ Feng's current ranking wasn't even in the top 100. Not bad, not bad. The Yinfeng Pavilion master's face was full of smiles. Every time someone was selected by the Qin Tian 13 sects, she would be rewarded handsomely. Originally, she was quite confident that at least 50 people would be selected to join the Qin Tian 13 sects. However, after coming to the Wanling city, she changed her mind. The entire Qin Tian star field had more than 1 million geniuses, while the chaotic galaxy only had 500 people. The difference was too big. She finally understood why the Qin Tian 13 sects didn't open their recruitment to the chaotic galaxy in the past. It was because there was no need to. However, after Lu Ming accumulated 88 points, he stopped and didn't continue to hunt others. This was because he felt that the incomplete divine skill he cultivated was about to break through. It's still early, I should find a place to break through first. It won't be too late to hunt later. Lu Ming thought. Sure enough, the speed of cultivating a divine skill was faster after going through battles. Previously, Lu Ming's comprehension of the incomplete divine skill was still some distance away from the 3rd stage. However, after a few days of fighting, he felt that he wasn't far from breaking through. As long as he found a place to comprehend it, he would be able to break through. Sharpening a knife wouldn't delay the work of cutting wood. As long as his incomplete divine skill broke through to the 3rd stage, his strength would increase greatly, and he would be able to kill his opponents faster. Lu Ming looked around and then rushed toward a small alley. The city Lu Ming was in was huge. Although Lu Ming had walked around a large area in the past few days, he was still only active in a small area of the city. After taking a detour through a few small alleys, Lu Ming came to a secluded courtyard. He entered the courtyard and closed the door. Lu Ming condensed a long spear with the power of a master and began to cultivate. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The long spear was constantly waved and stabbed. Lu Ming carefully explored and studied it. His comprehension of this spear art was getting deeper and deeper. Fighting. Not only was there fierce fighting in the 20th region where Lu Ming was, but other regions were also filled with fighting. Some people were directly teleported out after being killed twice. In the sky above Wanling City, the rankings on the 20 screens were constantly changing and flashing. However, gradually, a few names became more and more conspicuous and even firmly occupied the first place in different regions. For example, Wuxia from the Tigerman tribe, Jin Sheng from the Vajra tribe, Yang Chong, Ling Huyi. These few names had occupied the first place in their respective regions, not long after the competition had started. Wuxia is a genius from the Tigerman tribe that appears once in 100,000 years. It is said that once he breaks through to the martial god realm, he will be able to control divine-grade divine power, and is extremely powerful. This time, he will most likely be in the top 3. Jin Sheng from the Vajra tribe is not bad either. He also controls divine-grade divine power. Yang Chong is also a genius who controls divine-grade divine power. Divine-grade divine power, he is a peerless genius. Many people were discussing and exclaiming. In the Qin star field, most of the living beings who had broken through to the martial god realm could only control ordinary divine power. Only a small number of people could control royal-grade divine power. These people were already considered good geniuses. As for palm force and divine-grade divine power, they were extremely rare. There were not many of them in the entire Qin star field. Although it was possible to raise one's godly power level through certain godly techniques, those godly techniques were extremely rare, and the difficulty of cultivating them was also extremely high. Without exceptional comprehension and talent, it would be difficult to achieve anything. Chapter 26:35. One had to know that in the Qin Heavenly 13 sects, there were divine arts that could allow one to cultivate saint-grade, or even divine-grade god force. However, over the years only a small number of people were able to do so. What is the background of that Ling Huyi? Never heard of it before. Indeed, I've never heard of it either. Maybe he's a new genius. However, he's definitely not on the same level as Jin Sheng, Huya and Yang Chong. Of course, everyone looked at the rankings on the screen as they discussed. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had been in seclusion to cultivate the incomplete divine skill for 1.5 months. Half of the 3 months had passed. For 1.5 months, Lu Ming had been wholeheartedly comprehending the incomplete divine skill, and did not go out to hunt. Naturally, his ranking had plummeted. Ha ha ha, that Lu Ming won't make it. His score hasn't moved for 1.5 months, and his ranking has dropped to around 5,300. I knew it. He definitely won't make it into the top 100. That's right. He was just lucky before. He probably met some weaklings and got some points. As time passes, the weaklings will be eliminated, and the ones left will be the strong. He must be looking for an opportunity to hide now, not daring to make a move. Weaklings will always be weaklings. They definitely won't be able to enter the top 100. Kong Ji and Situ Haonan looked at the ancestor of technique and mocked him. Look, Feng, has entered the top 100. His ranking is still rising 9281. Suddenly, Situ Haonan's eyes lit up. That was because Situ Feng's ranking in the 9th region had suddenly skyrocketed. Originally, Situ Feng was ranked outside the top 100, but he suddenly soared all the way to the 72nd place before stopping. Ha ha ha, I knew that with Feng's talent, he would definitely be able to enter the top 100. Sure enough, he must have killed an expert just now and obtained a large number of points. Situ Haonan laughed excitedly. The Cloud Peak Pavilion Master nodded in agreement. Situ Feng had far surpassed the others in the tower test, so she had high hopes for him. Look, Xian Yanqing is also in the top 100. And Xian Yanjuan is also in the top 100. Suddenly, an old man beside the Cloud Peak Pavilion's pavilion master shouted. Everyone looked over, and saw that Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan had indeed entered the top 100. The galaxy behind their names was naturally the Chaotic Galaxy. Which force are these two from? Previously, he had kept a low profile, but he actually managed to rush into the top 100. Some people were puzzled. I remember that they were two peerless beauties, sisters. I think they came from the righteous army. From the Zhengtian army? Instantly, many people in the Chaotic Galaxy looked at the ancestor of techniques. That's right, they're from the righteous army. The ancestor of technique nodded. Fa Ming, I didn't expect your righteous army to give birth to so many peak geniuses. I've never heard you mention this before. Someone who knew the ancestor of techniques exclaimed. It's just a few geniuses. There's no need to make such a big fuss. As he spoke, he glanced at Situ Haonan. Wasn't it just a genius? There was no need to shout so loudly. The mockery in his words was self-evident. Situ Haonan's expression was a little ugly. He harumphed coldly and said, Humph, it's still early. Don't disappear in a few days like that, Lu Ming. I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. The ancestor of techniques smiled faintly. He was full of confidence in Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Xian Yanjuan. I hope she can enter the top 100. The ancestor of techniques sighed in his heart. Comparatively speaking, he was more worried about Tong Shi'er. He looked at the area where Tong Shi'er was. At this moment, Tongxi, Er's ranking was below 300 in that area. In the courtyard where Lu Ming was, whoosh, 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 hum, hum, hum. The spear light pierced through the air, and the sound of the long spear vibrating could be heard. Lu Ming's entire body seemed to have become one with the spear light. In the courtyard, the spear light rampaged for a while before it stopped. The spear light retracted, and Lu Ming stood in the courtyard with a faint smile on his face. After more than a month of cultivation, the incomplete divine skill had finally reached the 3rd level, and its power had greatly increased. Now Lu Ming's spear strike contained 7 different types of power at the same time. At the same time, it contained 7 different types of changes. There's still more than a month left. That's enough. Lu Ming smiled and took a step forward. His body rushed out, and he stood on the roof. Then he ran wildly on the roof. Soon he was 100 miles away. They're here. Lu Ming's gaze was fixed in one direction. Over there, 3 figures were dashing toward Lu Ming at lightning speed. Obviously, they had discovered Lu Ming, and were rushing towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming stood there without moving. In a few breaths, 3 youths, 2 men and 1 woman, surrounded Lu Ming. However, the 3 of them did not act rashly because Lu Ming was too calm. Facing the 3 of them, he was so calm that it made them feel a little guilty. You didn't run when you saw us. It seems like you're very confident. One of the youths said. You're here to give me points. Why should I run? Lu Ming asked in return. Give you points? Hee, you're really confident. I'm afraid you don't have the ability. Another youth said. Divine force surged and a battle sword condensed. Make your move. I'll give you a chance to make your move. Lu Ming said indifferently. Arrogant, let's kill him together. One of the youths said coldly. In an instant, the 3 youths moved. 3 attacks were launched towards Lu Ming. The power is not weak. It seems that after more than a month of fighting, those who are still alive have some tricks up their sleeves. As soon as the 3 of them attacked, Lu Ming could tell that the 3 youths were not weak. Although the 3 of them only controlled ordinary divine force, their understanding of the incomplete divine skills was quite deep. They had reached the limit of the 1st grade, and were not far from the 2nd grade. However, their strength was still far from Lu Ming's. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Lu Ming clenched his fist and a long spear condensed in the air. He then stabbed it out. 3 spear lights pierced towards the 3 youths. Each spear light had 7 variations, making it impossible to guard against. Puff, puff, puff. When the spear lights disappeared, there was a hole in between the eyebrows of the 3 youths. So strong. This was the last thought of the 3 youths. Then, with a bang, their bodies turned into energy and dissipated. My points have increased by 236 points. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Originally, his points were 88 points. However, after killing the 3 youths, his points suddenly increased to 324 points, which was an increase of 236 points. Sure enough, those who can stay until the end are all experts. Each of them has a lot of points. This is awesome. Lu Ming laughed. In a flash, he went to find the next opponent. Soon Lu Ming found another young genius hiding in a house. Lu Ming immediately attacked and killed that person. His points had increased to 367, and his ranking had risen to within the top 2,000. Chapter 2636. Thousand Spirits City. Guys, look. Lu Ming's ranking has risen, and it's rising so fast. His points are soaring, and he's already at 367 points. Not only that, he's already in the top 2,000. He's showing his strength, he's starting to show his strength. He must have been delayed by something. He rose again, more than 400 points, and he's now at 1378. Some of the people in the chaotic galaxy suddenly shouted. After all, Lu Ming had entered the top 100 in the past, but his ranking had stagnated after that. However, there were still many people paying attention to Lu Ming in the chaotic galaxy. At this moment, Lu Ming's ranking had suddenly soared, and these people immediately cried out. Humph. Kong Ji and Situ Haonan also looked over, and they both let out a cold harumph. Their faces were filled with displeasure. He's only in the top 1,000, he's still far from the top 100. That's right, those who remain behind are all experts. Without Feng Er's talent, he'll be killed sooner or later, and his ranking will plummet. Kang Ji and Situ Haonan said with displeasure. However, just as Situ Haonan finished speaking, his face changed drastically. Situ Zhao's ranking had suddenly plummeted in a certain area. Initially, Situ Zhao's ranking was already in the top 300, but now, his ranking had plummeted to the top 500. There was only one reason for his ranking to plummet, and that was because he was killed, and his points were halved. That was why he had fallen so badly. Ha ha ha, Situ Haonan. Are you talking about your son Situ Xiao? You're right, I have to say, you really have a crow's beak. The ancestor of technique laughed heartily. Fa Ming Yu Situ Haonan's chest heaved up and down, and he almost vomited blood. He had just mocked Lu Ming, and Situ Xiao was killed immediately. His words were too similar to his own. It was as if Situ Xiao was deliberately slapping his face. The leaders of the other factions could not help but laugh at the coincidence. Even Kang Jilian was trying her best not to laugh out loud. Situ Haonan's lips trembled in anger. The Cloud Peak Pavilion Master watched coldly. There were close to 1,000 forces in the chaotic galaxy, and it was normal for them to fight and kill each other. She was happy to see the other forces kill each other, and her Cloud Peak Pavilion could stabilize its position as the chaotic galaxy's overlord. It rose again, Lu Ming's ranking, it's fast. Someone shouted. At this moment, Lu Ming's ranking had already risen to more than 900. In the 20th zone, Lu Ming killed a burly snakeman with one shot. His ranking had risen to 978. Now the number of people has decreased a lot. It seems that many people have been killed twice and have quit. Then his gaze suddenly turned towards a certain direction. There a human youth was sprinting madly. It didn't take long for Lu Ming to catch up to him. Wait, brother. We're both humans. Let's talk nicely. Don't kill me. The human youth suddenly turned around and waved his hands. He looked like he was begging for mercy. Don't kill you? Give me a reason. Lu Ming said indifferently. The youth's eyes darted around, and then he shouted. I know a lot of information. I can tell you about the location of this area, and some of the top experts in the 20th area. Oh, you know this? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. It would be good if he could know this information. Yes. Our galaxy is good at collecting information. I've collected a lot of information during this period, so I know a lot about the 20th area. The youth said. Oh. Tell me. If I find out that you're talking nonsense, I won't show mercy. Lu Ming said coldly. The 20th area is divided into 18 big cities. All the participants are distributed in these 18 big cities to fight against each other. After this period of fighting, some top experts have been born in the 18 cities. Some have high levels of divine power, some have superb comprehension abilities, and some have great mastery of incomplete divine skills. Each and every one of them is an expert that is difficult to deal with. In our city, there are more than 10 top experts in the 4 districts of the north, south, east, and west. The young man immediately started talking about the top experts that he knew about in detail. So, I'm now in the east district of this city. There are 3 top experts in the east district. Interesting. I hope I can meet them. Lu Ming was looking forward to it. Killing these top experts would increase his points quickly. Alright, you can go now. Lu Ming waved his hand. Thank you. The youth was overjoyed. He cupped his fists, turned around, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming didn't kill the youth. The youth's strength was average and he didn't think he would get many points. Even if he killed him, he wouldn't get many points. I don't know where these top experts are. It seems that I can only try my luck. Lu Ming whispered. Then he randomly chose a direction and walked away. Not long after, Lu Ming came to a wide street alone. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, figures flashed and a group of people surrounded Lu Ming. There were more than 20 of them. Ha ha ha, it's you. What a coincidence. Now let's see how you're going to die. One of them laughed loudly when he saw Lu Ming. It's indeed a coincidence. There was a cold smile at the corners of Lu Ming's lips. It was the Tiger tribe. Furthermore, The person who laughed loudly just now was actually Hu Mao, the person who had threatened to let all the tiger men torture Lu Ming to death. Kid, it seems that God wants you to meet me. Now kneel down and lick my shoes. I can consider giving you a quick death. Hu Mao stretched out a foot and said coldly. The other tiger tribe members looked at Lu Ming coldly. It seems that you have a lot of points. Then, your points will belong to me. Lu Ming didn't bother to pay attention to Hu Mao and said lightly. What? What? Hu Mao and others were stunned, thinking that they had heard it wrong. What did Lu Ming say? He wanted to take their points? Was he crazy? A trash from the chaotic Star River actually said that he wanted to take their points. If he wasn't crazy, then what was? It seems that this kid is not only stupid but also blindly arrogant. It's really sad. In that case, let him die miserably and let him know the consequences of offending our tiger tribe. Hu Mao said eerily. Leave it to me. A young tiger tribe member directly took action. He waved his big hand and grabbed Lu Ming. In his view, Lu Ming was just a void transformation realm martial artist from a small place like the chaotic Star River. What kind of combat strength could he have? He could be suppressed with a flip of his hand. Chapter 2637. Just as the young tiger man's palm was about to hit Lu Ming's finger shot out like a long spear. A ray of spear light burst out. It was extremely bright and fast. Puff! The young tiger man's body suddenly stiffened in midair, because his glabella had been pierced by Lu Ming's spear light. He died on the spot. Bang! Then the young tiger man's body exploded with a bang, turning into energy and dissipating. Hu Mao and the others all had astonished looks on their faces. This was completely out of their expectations. A mere void transformation stage martial artist from a place like the chaotic Star River was able to kill a heaven's pride of the Tiger clan with one move. After the shock, they were furious. Boy, how dare you kill a member of the Tiger Man clan? You're courting death. Hu Mao roared. You talk too much nonsense. Lu Ming said indifferently. He clenched his hand and a long spear condensed in his hand. Swoosh! Swoosh! Lu Ming was too lazy to talk nonsense and directly attacked. In an instant, several rays of terrifying spear light burst out and killed several Tiger Man clan youths. Attack! Attack together. I want him to suffer a fate worse than death. Hu Mao roared. Roar! Roar! These Tiger Man clan youths roared like tigers. Their divine power condensed into various weapons and attacked Lu Ming. Come on! Lu Ming roared. The long spear vibrated and 7 kinds of changes appeared in an instant. Rays of spear light were shot out, and each ray of spear light contained 7 kinds of power. These Tiger Man clan youths could not resist at all. Puff! Boom! Some of them were pierced by the spear light, and some were swept by the long spear and directly shattered. 20 Tiger Man clan youths were like babies in the hands of Lu Ming. They could not withstand a single blow. Among these people, not all of them possessed ordinary divine power. There were also a few who possessed king-grade divine power. It was a pity that the incomplete divine skill was still weak in Lu Ming's hands. Only the tiger fur was slightly stronger. The divine power he controlled was also of the king grade, and his divine skill was not bad. That was why he was able to block Lu Ming's attack. Bang! Hu Mao used his divine power to condense a battle axe and blocked Lu Ming's spear light. However, his body shook violently and was sent flying. He heavily crashed into the wall of a house and smashed it into pieces. Puff! Hu Mao spat out large mouthfuls of blood as he stared at Lu Ming in shock. Dead, they were all dead. Of the 20+ Tiger Man youths, only Hu Mao was left. The rest were all killed by Lu Ming. Brat, you've killed so many of my men. You'll die a horrible death. There are hundreds of my men in this area. I'll definitely avenge you. Hu Mao roared. In this trial, there were 2 chances. Even if he was killed, he could still revive. He had to tear Lu Ming to shreds. Is that so? All right, I'll wait for you here. People like Lu Ming must have a lot of points. If they could kill Lu Ming, their points would skyrocket. Many people had this idea and were hiding in the dark. On the 11th day, Lu Ming sat cross-legged in the middle of the street. meditating on the incomplete divine skill with his eyes closed. At this moment he suddenly opened his eyes. In front of him, figures were leaping on the houses at an amazing speed. In the blink of an eye, they were in front of Lu Ming. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In a flash, more than 30 youths of the Tiger Man youths appeared on the street in front of Lu Ming. Lu Ming saw at a glance that one of them was Hu Mao. At this moment, Hu Mao was looking at Lu Ming with a face full of hatred. Hu Gu, it's him. It's this bastard who killed more than 20 of our Tiger Man youths and threatened to wait here. Hu Mao pointed at Lu Ming and shouted. Bang! In front of Hu Mao, a particularly burly youth stepped out. This person was Hu Gu, one of the top 3 experts in the East District. He was also one of the top 10 geniuses in the Tiger Man youths. You are Lu Ming? How dare you wait here for us? Hu Gu said coldly. Why not wait for someone to give me points? Lu Ming asked. Chapter 2638. Giving away points? Ha ha ha. Tiger Bone laughed out loud. After a few laughs, his smile suddenly disappeared and he stared coldly at Lu Ming. During this period of time, some people have put you on the same level as me and called you the 4th top expert in the East District. I'd like to see what you're capable of. After saying that, Tiger Bone stepped forward. Bam! Bam! With every step he took, the ground rumbled and Tiger Bone's body swelled up, becoming extremely majestic. A halberd formed in his hand with divine power, and it was as tall as a person. Kill! Tiger Bone roared and his aura became stronger and stronger. He stepped forward continuously and raised his aura to the maximum. Swoosh! The halberd suddenly struck down at Lu Ming with lightning speed. Buzz! Lu Ming was also very direct and swept out his spear. The spear and halberd met in midair, and there was a shocking explosion. Boom! 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 A terrifying power burst out from Tiger Bone's halberd. That kind of power seemed to be able to split mountains and the earth. This was the power of an incomplete divine skill. However, Lu Ming's spear burst out with 7 types of power at the same time. The 7 types of power overlapped, and each type was stronger than the last. The power of the 7 types of power surged out and crushed Tiger Bone's halberd in an instant, and surged towards his opponent. Tiger Bone's expression changed drastically, and his body retreated continuously. He took more than 10 steps back before he could stabilize himself. Your incomplete divine skill has already reached the 3rd level. How is that possible? Tiger Bone roared in shock. Lu Ming did not use all of his sovereign power just now. Instead, he used the incomplete divine skill. He used the 3rd level of the incomplete divine skill to force his opponent back. What? The 3rd level? How is that possible? How can he cultivate the incomplete divine skill to the 3rd level? How long has it been? I've only reached the 1st level not long ago. Me too. Tiger Bone's words shocked the other youths of the Tiger tribe. Although the difficulty of cultivating an incomplete divine skill was not as high as a complete divine skill, it was already very difficult for people of their level. Among the 1 million people, a portion of them had not even reached the 1st level of the martial arts technique. Most of them were only at the 1st level even though they had reached the entry level. For example, Tiger Bone had managed to cultivate his incomplete divine skill to the 2nd level. Coupled with his king-grade divine power, he was able to become one of the top 3 experts in the Eastern District. As for Lu Ming, he had already cultivated the incomplete divine skill to the 3rd level. No wonder. It was no wonder that Lu Ming was so powerful and could unleash such a shocking combat strength with the cultivation of the transformation void martial stage. It turned out that Lu Ming had already cultivated the incomplete divine skill to the 3rd level. The 3rd level of an incomplete divine skill. Terrifying. This person's comprehension ability is truly terrifying. This person's battle prowess is even above Hu Gu's. The people who were hiding in the dark all had the same thought in their minds. Tiger Bone, this is your strength? He's really nothing much. Lu Ming said with a mocking smile. I don't believe it. Hu Gu roared and waved his halberd, charging towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming waved his long spear and the spear radiance swept across the battlefield, clashing with Hu Gu. Lu Ming still had a lot of reservations. He did not unleash the full power of the sovereign power. He only used the incomplete divine skill to fight against his opponent. Even so, Hugu was no match for him. Hugu's incomplete divine skill had just broken through to the second level. Lu Ming had already broken through to the third level for some time. After this period of cultivation, he had made some progress. The difference between each level of the incomplete divine skill was like the difference between heaven and earth. If he were to cultivate the complete divine skill in the future, the difference between each level would be even greater. In just a few moves, Hugu was no match for Lu Ming. He was swept by Lu Ming's spear and the 7 levels of strength exploded. Half of his body exploded. He spat out mouthfuls of blood and his aura weakened. How could this be? At this moment, the other members of the tiger tribe were dumbfounded. A mere transformation void martial stage martial artist was no match for Hugu. How could this be? Especially Hu Mao, who was completely dumbfounded. Go quickly. You're no match for him. Run. At this moment Hugu roared. Go quickly. The other members of the tiger tribe came to their senses. Some of them turned around and ran, while others wanted to escape with Hugu. Since you're here, leave behind half of your points before you leave. Lu Ming said coldly. He moved his body and rushed towards Hugu. At this moment, half of Hugu's body had exploded. He could not resist at all, and was killed by Lu Ming's spear. Then Lu Ming raised his spear and killed the other members of the tiger tribe. It was a one-sided situation. The spear radiance swept across the battlefield. One by one, the youths of the tiger tribe were killed. They turned into energy and dissipated. After a while, all the youths of the tiger tribe were killed by Lu Ming. This. At this moment, the sky prides of the various clans who were hiding in the surrounding buildings were almost scared out of their wits. Their eyes were wide open. It was a complete massacre. It was completely one-sided. At first, many people wanted to wait for Lu Ming and the tiger tribe to suffer losses, so that they could take advantage of the situation. At this moment, they were scared. Take advantage of the situation. They would be courting death if they went out. Lu Ming didn't consume much energy. They didn't dare to breathe too loudly. They held their breaths for fear that Lu Ming would discover them. So many points. At this moment, the badge in front of his chest kept reminding him. His points had skyrocketed, and his ranking had also skyrocketed. Now, his ranking had directly rushed to the 51st place in the 20th zone. Finally, I'm back in the top 100 again. Lu Ming smiled. In the Wanling city, the people of the chaotic galaxy were also shocked. Look, Lu Ming's ranking is soaring. It's so fast. 137,129, 98, 67. Seeing Lu Ming's ranking keep rising, they gasped. In the end, Lu Ming's ranking was fixed at the 51st place. 51st place. That's amazing. I didn't expect Lu Ming to reach the 51st place in the 20th zone. As long as he can maintain this ranking, he will definitely enter the top 100. That's right. I didn't expect the Zhengtian army to produce so many geniuses this time. That's amazing. There was a lot of discussion. The leaders of these forces looked at the ancestor of techniques with envy. As for Kong Ji and Situ Haonan, their faces were as ugly as they could be. In the 20th zone, just as Lu Ming was about to leave, his gaze suddenly shifted to the left. There was a young man in black with a pair of wings behind his back. He was from the Wing tribe. The wings behind his back flapped, and he floated in the air toward Lu Ming. One had to know that it was impossible to fly in here, but this person was floating in the air with his wings. It's Deng Yu. That's right, it's him. This battle actually attracted Deng Yu. The people who were hiding all around sucked in a breath of cold air. Chapter 2639. The city that they were in was extremely huge. It was like a small world and was divided into 4 districts: north, south, east, and west. Every city district had a few top experts. However, there was one expert in each district who was recognized as the number 1 expert. That was Deng Yu. He was the number 1 expert in this city, a top genius. At the very least, he was invincible in this city. It was a name that he earned through killing. Now that Deng Yu had appeared, Could it be that he was going to fight with Lu Ming? Many people were looking forward to it. Lu Ming's strength was also extremely shocking. One of the top experts in the East District, Hu Gu, was completely crushed by Lu Ming. They wanted to know who was stronger between Lu Ming and Deng Yu. You're very strong. I didn't expect that there would be an expert like you in this city. Deng Yu stopped, landed on a house, and looked at Lu Ming. Deng Yu. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed slightly. He had heard the young human mention it before. Now that he saw Deng Yu, he immediately thought of him. That's right. Deng Yu nodded and looked at Lu Ming. His eyes were bursting with a strong battle intent. Initially, I had planned to go to other cities to find experts to challenge, but now it seems that there's no need for that. Deng Yu said. The battle intent in his eyes was getting stronger. You want to fight? That's exactly what I want. Lu Ming also revealed his battle intent. No, you and I will fight, but not now. Deng Yu shook his head. Not now. Lu Ming was puzzled. To be honest, you're very strong. I can't see through you at all. I don't have the confidence to fight you. Maybe I'll die in your hands. I don't have enough points now. If my points are reduced by half, I don't have the confidence to enter the top 100. So how about we have a battle? When the 3 months are almost up, how about we fight here? Deng Yu said. All right. Lu Ming nodded and agreed without hesitation. He understood Deng Yu's thoughts. If he was killed by Lu Ming now, his points would be halved, and he wouldn't have the confidence to enter the top 100. Therefore, during this period of time, he would try to obtain more points. When he had enough points, even if his points were halved, he would still be able to enter the top 100. Very well. Let's fight here before the 3 months are up. Finished speaking, Deng Yu turned around and left. Lu Ming wants to fight Deng Yu? When the time comes, you must come and watch. The onlookers thought to themselves. At this moment, Lu Ming had a faint smile on his face as he scanned the surrounding buildings. The people hiding in the buildings immediately tensed up, their heartbeats accelerated, and cold sweat broke out all over their bodies. Could it be that he had been discovered? They were shocked. In fact, Lu Ming had discovered them long ago. He controlled the path of domination. Although he could not dominate and mobilize the power of a world like in the heaven realm, his senses were greatly enhanced. Although those people hid very well, they were still discovered by Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming did not make a move. These people's points were not that high. As long as they did not provoke him, he would not bother to make a move. Right now he was only interested in experts. Lu Ming took a step forward, rushed up a building, and left this place. At this time, there was still a month before the 3 months deadline. Lu Ming began to look for other experts to hunt. However, as long as someone saw him in the East District, they would run away. It was difficult to find an opponent. A few days later, Lu Ming walked out of the East District and went to the other districts. Sure enough, when he arrived at the other districts, there were blind people looking for Lu Ming to hunt down Lu Ming. Of course, the result was that they were all killed by Lu Ming. Just like this, time passed day by day. Lu Ming's points were also slowly increasing. His ranking was also slowly rising. When the 3 months deadline was less than a day away, Lu Ming's ranking rose to 39th in the 20th district. At this time, Lu Ming returned to the place where he and Deng Yu agreed to meet. When Lu Ming returned, he already saw a figure waiting there. It was Deng Yu. You're here. Deng Yu opened his eyes, and 2 bright sword lights burst out from his eyes. Since we agreed to meet, of course I'll come. Lu Ming smiled. At the same time, he keenly sensed that there were many people hiding in the surrounding buildings. A month ago, the battle between Lu Ming and Deng Yu had already spread throughout this city. The 2 of them were recognized as the strongest in this city. Of course, it would attract many people to come and watch. Make your move, Deng Yu said. He was very direct. The divine power in his body boiled, condensing into battle swords around his body. There were a total of 36 swords, and the sword Qi soared into the sky. Fight, Lu Ming said, and a long spear appeared in his hand. Bang! Lu Ming took a step forward, and man and spear became one as he charged toward Deng Yu. Go! Deng Yu waved his hand, and the 36 battle swords formed a strange combination, stabbing toward Lu Ming. Boom! 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 Lu Ming's long spear and Deng Yu's battle swords clashed repeatedly, and energy overflowed. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had exchanged dozens of blows. This Deng Yu is not weak, Lu Ming said to himself. As soon as they exchanged blows, he could feel Deng Yu's overall combat strength. The divine power that Deng Yu controlled was also king grade, but it was much stronger than ordinary king grade divine power. Even among divine powers of the same level, there were differences in strength, and some were much stronger. For example, Tong Xier and Kong Long both controlled king grade divine power, but Tong Xier's king grade divine power was stronger than Kong Long's. Deng Yu was the same. His king grade divine power was not weaker than Tong Xier's, and it was even stronger. Moreover, his incomplete divine skill had reached the second level, and he had reached the peak of the second level. His combat awareness was also very strong. In terms of overall combat strength, he was much stronger than Hu Gu. It was no wonder that he could become the top expert in this city. Powerful, powerful, again. After dozens of exchanges, the fighting spirit in Deng Yu's eyes grew stronger and stronger. He waved his hands, and sword light surged. 36 battle swords rushed toward Lu Ming continuously. Every attack was shockingly powerful and unpredictable, and it was impossible to guard against. It seems that I still need to increase the power of the sovereign. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Previously, when he fought with his opponent, he did not use the full power of the sovereign. What he used was only the power of ordinary divine power. Now he used the power of the sovereign to the power of king-grade divine power. Instantly, his combat strength increased, and his spear light surged, swatting away Deng Yu's sword light. Let's end this, Lu Ming said in a low voice. His long spear shook, and it turned into a lightning-like spear light. It was like a flying immortal, shattering the void. Whoosh! 7 types of power burst out from the spear light, and Deng Yu's remaining sword light was destroyed. In the next moment, the spear light pierced through Deng Yu's chest. Deng Yu's body stiffened in the air. Powerful, this battle. I accept my defeat wholeheartedly. Deng Yu smiled. Then, with a bang, his body turned into energy and disappeared. Chapter 2640. Lu Ming vs. Deng Yu. Lu Ming wins. Deng Yu's points are amazing. After killing Deng Yu, Lu Ming's points skyrocketed and his ranking rose again. Originally, Lu Ming's ranking was 39th in the 20th district. After killing Deng Yu, his ranking rose to 17th in the 20th district. After all, there were more than 50,000 people in the 20th district. There were people in the 18 huge cities who were constantly killing each other. It was normal for their points to be higher than his. Terrifying, really terrifying. Even Deng Yu is no match for him. Gosh, this person's combat strength is amazing. I didn't expect the chaotic galaxy to have such a person. I think with his strength, he can make it to the top 100. It's possible. Let's see how he fights with the other opponents in the second round. In the surroundings, those who were hiding and watching were shocked to the extreme, unable to calm down. Deng Yu was recognized as the strongest person in the city. However, he was killed by Lu Ming in the end. At this moment, the people of the chaotic galaxy in Wanling City were in an uproar. Lu Ming's ranking rose again. He rose again. He actually made it to 17th in the 20th district. This is amazing. Amazing this time. The Zhengtian army is amazing. Many people sighed. The first round of the examination would end in less than a day. This time, the Zhengtian army had 5 people who were ranked in the top 100 in their respective districts. Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan were ranked 70th to 80th in their respective districts. Are the two of them hiding their strength? The ancestor of technique muttered. He was well aware of Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan's talents. They were both existences who could control holy divine power. To be able to control divine power, as soon as they broke through to the martial god realm, their comprehension was definitely not low. However, under normal circumstances, their ranking should not be so low. There was only one possibility. They were hiding their strength. Seeing that they were about to advance, they did not continue to fight. However, Tong Xier and Dandan were ranked higher. Tong Xier was ranked 53rd in her region. Dandan ranked 36th. Including Lu Ming and the Righteous Army, a total of 5 people had entered the top 100 of their respective regions. Even the Cloud Peak Pavilion Master was envious of such results. Cloud Peak Pavilion only had 3 people who had made it into the top 100 of their respective regions. As for Kong Ji and Situ Haonan, they were about to go crazy from jealousy. How could this be? The heavens are unfair. The two of them roared in their hearts. Previously, someone said that Lu Ming relied on luck and would definitely be killed later. What about now? Fa Ming sneered as he looked at Situ Haonan and Kong Ji. The two of them were so angry that their lungs were about to explode. At the same time, they started to panic. So many geniuses had appeared in the Righteous Sky Army, especially Lu Ming, who had reached 17th place in the 20th district. With such talent, if they all joined the Qin 13 sects, how could the Yuan Luo Palace and the Free and Unfettered sect have any good days? Their only consolation was that Situ Feng's ranking wasn't low either. He was ranked 26th in his region. It's still too early to talk about this. Let's see the second round's performance. But who will be able to join the 3 overlords? Situ Haonan gritted his teeth. There was less than a day left before the end of this round's examination. On the last day, the killing in the 20 districts had become even crazier. This was because once one entered the top 100 of their respective region, it was almost certain that they would be able to join the Qin 13 sects. However, once they were eliminated, it would no longer be certain. They wouldn't be able to choose. Moreover, even if they didn't enter the top 100, the higher their points, the higher their chances of being chosen by the Qin 13 sects. Therefore, everyone had gone crazy. Frenzied slaughter, frenzied slaughter. I'm ranked 103rd. As long as I kill him, I'll enter the top 100. In the 3rd district, a young man with a Taran head was crazily attacking his opponent. Ah, don't fight back. There's no time. Let me kill you. Let me kill you and I'll be able to enter the top 100. In the 6th district, a young man was crazily chasing after another young man. However, his opponent was crazily fleeing, causing the young man to roar in anger. Almost. He was just a little bit away. However, his opponent wouldn't let him kill him so easily. He couldn't catch up to his opponent and was extremely anxious. Crazy. Everyone's eyes were red as they fought crazily. This was related to their future and fate. It would be strange if they didn't go crazy. In each of the cities in the 20 regions, a crazy massacre was taking place everywhere. However, there were some people that no one dared to provoke. Once they saw them, their expressions would change drastically, and they would run away. For example, Jin Sheng, Hu Ye Yangchong, Ling Huyi and the others. They were the kings of their respective districts and were ranked first. In the 20th district, where Lu Ming and Deng Yu were fighting, Lu Ming didn't leave. He sat there cross-legged, comprehending the incomplete divine skill, and waiting for the time to come. However, no one dared to provoke Lu Ming. They didn't even dare to get too close to Lu Ming. Although everyone knew that Lu Ming had a shocking amount of points, who would dare to provoke him? Unless they wanted to die. Time passed quickly just like that. When the 3-month period came, his body seemed to be pulled by a force. Then, he turned into a beam of light and disappeared. In the next moment, Lu Ming realized that his spiritual will had returned to his body. They were still in a room in the inn. At the same time, Xian Yinqing, Xian Yinjuan, Tong Shi and Dandan woke up. The jade talisman above their heads glowed. On it, words appeared. Everyone's points and ranking could be clearly seen. With a glance, it was clear at a glance. Xiaoqing and Xian Yinjuan. Lu Ming was slightly surprised. Xian Yinqing and Xian Yinjuan's rankings were a little low. Maybe they're hiding their strength, Lu Ming thought. At this moment, the rankings on the 20 huge screens were completely set. This time, a total of 15 people from the chaotic astral river had entered the top 100 of their respective regions. The Righteous Sky Army was the biggest winner, with a total of 5 people. Even the Yunfeng Pavilion only had 3 people. As for Situ Feng, Situ Xiao, Kong Long and the others, only Situ Feng had entered the top 100. Quick, Record down the names of the top 5,000 people in their respective regions. Record the top 10,000 of their respective regions. These are the geniuses of the Qin Tian star field accumulated over the past 1,000 years. At this moment, many people started recording the rankings on the screens. These people came from some of the smaller factions in the Qin Tian star field. In the Qin Tian star field, other than the Qin Tian 13 sects, there were many smaller factions. Although their strength was far inferior to the Qin Tian 13 sects, they were still much stronger than factions like the Yunfeng Pavilion. These factions knew that the people at the top of the rankings would definitely not join them. Therefore, they had their eyes on the people at the bottom of the rankings. The Qin Tian 13 sects didn't care about these people, but they did. Chapter 2641. It was just like Taba. Those who were ranked at the bottom might have some gold. In history, there had been such a situation. Some people had an average performance during the assessment, and were not selected by the Qin Tian 13 sects. Instead, they joined a small force. However, there were some who soared to the sky and became heavenly gods, divine kings, and even the top experts in the Qin Tian star zone. Once they found such gold, that small force would make a fortune. Many geniuses who were not selected by the Qin Tian 13 sects would join these small forces. These small powers were only considered small compared to the Qin heavenly 13 sects. But when compared to the major powers in the chaotic astral river, these small powers were undoubtedly gigantic. Some factions had god kings holding down the fort. After a while, the 20 screens in the sky finally disappeared. What replaced them was a line of words. At this moment, a message appeared in Lu Ming and the rest's jade talismans. It introduced the information and rules of the second round of assessment. Everyone read it carefully. The rules of the second round of assessment were to be carried out in the dreamland space. Like the first round, everyone's cultivation was suppressed to level 1 empty god realm. In the dreamland space, they could only use the incomplete divine skills that they had comprehended. Moreover, the second round was a one-on-one battle. There were 20 areas and the top 100 in each area. There were a total of 2,000 people who would fight in pairs. However, they had to rest for a month. After a month, they would enter the stone steel forest where they had comprehended the incomplete divine skills and comprehend them again. This time, they would have 2 years. After 2 years, the second round would begin. It was obvious that this was to allow those who were talented and had high comprehension abilities to widen the gap. What the Qin Heavenly 13 sects valued was their comprehension ability and talent. During the battle, the Qin Tian 13 sects would send experts to observe their battles. If they were satisfied, they would even take the initiative to invite them. What was different from the first round was that during the 2 years when they were comprehending the incomplete divine skills, they could exit or enter at any time. There's still a month to rest. Shall we go out for a walk? Lu Ming smiled. Everyone agreed. Everyone walked out of the inn and strolled on the streets. At the same time, this was the Myriad Spirit Star, the largest commercial planet in the Qin Heavenly Star Field. Lu Ming had a few other objectives. Back then, he had obtained some divine pills in the God's Cave abode on Northern Merchant Planet. He wanted to find some books that introduced divine pills and identify them. In addition, he had quite a few divine weapons in his possession. He planned to sell some of them, and buy a batch of divine weapon fragments for Qiuqiu to eat. As Qiuqiu's level increased, his requirements for divine artifact fragments also increased. Low-grade divine artifact fragments were becoming less and less useful to it. He needed to purchase some high-grade divine artifact fragments. In addition, Lu Ming wanted to see if he could find any secret techniques that could conceal his sovereign power, so that others would not easily recognize him. You guys go ahead. I still have something to do, so I'll be leaving first. After strolling around for a while, Xian Yinjuan spoke up. With that, he drifted away, heading down another street. Lu Ming and the others didn't think too much about it. Xian Yinjuan had always been mysterious. They continued to stroll around. Soon they arrived at a bustling area. There were shops everywhere in this area. This was the largest commercial star in the Qin Tian star field. There were caravans from all over the Qintian starfield. Everyone was dazzled. Some of the treasures made them green with envy, but the prices were shockingly high. Even some true gods and heavenly gods couldn't afford them. After a while, they came to a divine weapon shop. Lu Ming sold a few low-grade Tier 7 and Tier 8 divine weapons, then exchanged them for divine weapon fragments of the same level. Then they walked to some shops that sold divine skills and secret techniques. So many divine skills and secret techniques. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. Tongxier's eyes were shining. On the other hand, Xian Yinqing and Dandan were relatively calm. At a glance, they saw at least a few hundred divine skills. There were offensive ones, speed ones, and defensive ones. However, the prices were so high that they made them gasp. There were even secret techniques. Secret techniques were different from divine skills. Secret techniques were usually rarer and were used to assist. Some could assist in attack, speed, alchemy, crafting, and so on. Lu Ming looked at them one by one. Of course, there were no real books here. They were all introductions. Only when one wanted to buy something would the shop take out the real book. What a magical secret technique. Lu Ming discovered that some secret skills could increase one's combat ability within a short period of time, such as the battle formula. However, unlike the battle formula did not have any aftereffects. These secret skills usually had aftereffects. Some could increase one's speed, and some required special cultivation methods to increase one's combat power. However, the price was often shockingly high. With Lu Ming's current net worth, he couldn't afford it. Spirit transformation technique. Suddenly, Lu Ming saw a secret technique, and his eyes lit up. Spirit transformation technique could change the aura, color, and level of divine power. The introduction was very simple, but it was suitable for Lu Ming. However, the price was 100,000 divine crystals, which made Lu Ming frown. 100,000 divine crystals was very low compared to other secret techniques, but it wasn't a small sum. Sir, do you need this secret technique? A shop assistant asked Lu Ming. Can the price of this spirit transformation technique be cheaper? Lu Ming asked. Cheaper? I can't make the decision. I need to ask the shopkeeper. Wait a moment, I'll go ask the shopkeeper. The shop assistant said politely, and then left in a hurry. Soon Dianyu came back with a middle-aged man. Sir, if you need this spirit transformation technique, I'll sell it to you for 80,000 divine crystals. Take it as making friends. The shopkeeper said with a smile. 80,000 divine crystals is too expensive. I'll buy it for 50,000 divine crystals. Lu Ming said. 50,000? Sir, I'm afraid that won't do. It's too cheap. The shopkeeper shook his head. Shopkeeper, I'm sure you know that this spirit transforming technique isn't very useful. It's useless for most people. No matter how long you stay here, I'm afraid no one will buy it. 50,000 divine crystals is more than enough. Lu Ming casually shook his head, as if he didn't care. Indeed, this spirit transformation technique was completely different from the divine breathing technique that Lu Ming had obtained in the past. The divine breathing technique could change one's aura as if they were a different person. However, Lu Ming's cultivation was too high, so the divine breathing technique was useless. On the other hand, the spirit transformation technique could only change the aura, level, color, and so on. However, why would an ordinary person change the level of their divine power? Chapter 2642. The transformation art could only disguise high-level divine power as low-level divine power. It could not disguise low-level divine power as high-level divine power. Why would a person with king-grade divine power disguise their divine power as ordinary divine power? Most people wished that their divine power was of a higher level. Only a small number of people with saint-grade or divine-grade divine power would disguise their divine power as low-level divine power in order to not attract attention. However, such people were far too few and far between. Therefore, as Lu Ming had said, a secret skill like the transformation skill was of little value. Not many people would buy it. The shopkeeper's expression changed. He knew that Lu Ming had a point. 50,000 divine crystals. I don't want any more than that. I'm just curious. Lu Ming shook his head and was about to turn around and leave. Wait a minute, sir. 50,000 it is. I'll sell it to you. The shopkeeper quickly stopped Lu Ming. Lu Ming smiled and took out 50,000 divine crystals. He handed it to the shopkeeper. Then the shopkeeper went into the depths of the shop. When he returned, he took out a jade token and handed it to Lu Ming. Lu Ming took it and scanned it with his spiritual consciousness. It was the transformation art. It's done. Lu Ming was delighted. After putting it away, they walked out of the shop. Next, they walked around for a while. Xian Yanqing, Tong Xie, and Dandan bought some things they needed. As for Lu Ming, he bought a few books that introduced some divine elixirs and returned to the inn. After returning to the inn, Lu Ming took out the books on divine pills and read them carefully. Xian Yanjuan walked around alone. Soon, she came to a tall building. Those who were experienced would know that this was a famous place to gather information on the myriad spirit star. This was opened by a terrifying force. This force's strength spread across half of the primitive universe. A lot of information could be bought here. Xian Yanjuan walked in and was immediately greeted. Miss, how can I help you? A middle-aged woman asked. I want information. Xian Yanjuan said. Excuse me, is this news from the Qin Tian starfield or from another starfield? The young woman asked. Other starfields. Xian Yanjuan. Those from other starfields, please follow me. The young woman led Xian Yanjuan into a room. Half an hour later, Xian Yanqing left the building with a frown. On the myriad spirit star, a storm was brewing. Some of the smaller forces had already started to meet with some of the lower-ranked geniuses, hoping to rope them in. In an inn. Damn it. Those trash from the righteous army actually managed to enter the top 100. Damn it. Kong Long roared, his eyes filled with jealousy. At the side, Situ Xiao was about the same. This time, the righteous sky army actually had 5 people enter the top 100 of their respective regions. This greatly exceeded their expectations. As for Kong Long and Situ Xiao, they didn't enter the top 100 of their respective regions. Now if they wanted to join the Qin Tian 13 sects, they would have to rely on luck. Don't worry, as long as I join a sect, I will definitely recommend you guys. Situ Feng said faintly. Thank you, big brother. Situ Xiao was beaming with joy. Thank you, brother Situ. Kong Long also thanked him repeatedly. This time, it was fortunate that Situ Feng was here. Not only did he enter the top 100 of his region, but his ranking wasn't low either. Entering the Qin Tian 13 sects was something that was set in stone. Feng, or you have to perform well in the second round. Only by performing well will you be valued by the Qin Tian 13 sects. After joining, your treatment will also be better. Situ Haonan warned. I know. Situ Feng nodded, his eyes revealing a strong battle intent. This time, he wanted to amaze everyone and walk out of the chaotic astral river. The Qin Tian starfield and even the primitive universe were his stage. North of the myriad spirit city, on a mountain. This was the gathering place of the Tiger Men. At this moment, a roar could be heard from the mountain. Hu Mao, and you Hu Gu with your talent. Why didn't you enter the top 100 of the 20th region? What's going on? Hu Ye's eyes were like lightning as he glanced at Hu Mao, Hu Gu, and the others. Hu Mao and Hu Gu were usually arrogant, but in front of Hu Ye, they were like mice that saw a cat. When Hu Ye glanced at them, they shuddered. It's all because of that brat, that bastard from the chaotic astral river. Hu Mao gritted his teeth and told Hu Ye about Lu Ming. Chaotic astral river? I didn't expect that there would be such a genius in the chaotic astral river. However, no matter who he is, he must be punished for killing the Tiger Men. Don't worry, don't let me meet him in the second round. Otherwise, I will make sure he dies miserably. Hu Ye said coldly. If it wasn't for the rule that he couldn't attack other participants during the assessment, he would have used his power to find Lu Ming and kill Lu Ming. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. In these few days, Lu Ming had finished reading a few books that introduced divine pills. He also roughly compared the divine pills that he got from the Heavenly God's cave. The divine pills in the cave weren't of high grade, otherwise, the Heavenly God wouldn't have left them there. There were healing pills, detoxifying pills, and pills that could enhance cultivation. Among them, There were two types of pills that interested Lu Ming the most. One was the spirit congealing pill. The other was the spirit strengthening pill. The spirit congealing pill could speed up the fusion of 10,000 yuan, allowing the void transformation realm to enter the demigod realm faster. This was exactly what Lu Ming needed now. The other type was the spirit strengthening pill. This divine pill was extremely helpful for the void god realm. After the void god realm took it, it could increase their divine power and increase their cultivation speed. Among them, there were 2 bottles of spirit congealing pills with a total of 18 pills. There were 6 bottles of spirit strengthening pills with a total of 54 pills. Lu Ming gave Xian Yanqing, Xian Yanjuan, Tong Shi, and Dandan a bottle of spirit strengthening pill each. This way, it could speed up their cultivation speed. He kept 2 bottles for himself. Crunch, crunch. At the side, Qiu was hugging a mysterious fragment and munching on it happily. Lu Ming smiled and took out a few more divine weapon fragments and threw them to Qiu. As for himself, he took out a spirit congealing pill and swallowed it, beginning his cultivation. A month's time passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, the jade token shone again, and brought them into the dream space. It was still the same stone steel forest as last time. There were various different incomplete divine skills on it. This time, they had 2 years to comprehend it. Roar, roar. On the other side of the stone steel forest, there were roars of beasts. This time it was a little different from last time. This time in the dream space, there were some training grounds that were filled with countless desolate beasts. Everyone could enter and train. This way, it would be extremely helpful for comprehending and cultivating the incomplete divine skills. Chapter 26:43. The crowd did not move immediately, but instead, they looked at each other. There were 2,000 people in total, and 2 years later, they might all be competitors. All of a sudden, Lu Ming felt a few powerful auras pressing toward him. He turned around and saw a few figures walking towards Lu Ming. Tiger tribe. Lu Ming could tell at one glance that these few people were from the Tiger clan. The leader was a young man who was extremely tall and muscular. He was even taller than Hu Gu previously. There was a domineering aura around him. "You are Lu Ming?" The few youths from the Tiger tribe stopped in front of Lu Ming, and the young man who was the leader asked coldly. "That's right," Lu Ming replied. "Very good, you killed many experts from my tribe in the 20th district. You better not meet me in the second round, or else I will make sure you die miserably," the young man from the Tiger tribe said maliciously, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. This kid from the chaotic galaxy offended the Tiger tribe. He's finished. Being targeted by Wuxia. I'm afraid he won't make it through the second round. Some people whispered at the side. "Wuxia, you're getting more and more useless to target someone from the chaotic galaxy. Your opponent is me." At this time, a rough voice sounded, and a young man who was even more muscular than Wuxia stepped out. A powerful aura came towards Wuxia. "Jinsheng, it's Jinsheng." Someone recognized this young man. He was someone who was as famous as Wuxia, and also a peerless genius who controlled Saint-grade divine force. "Jinsheng, you and I will have a battle, and this time, the first place will belong to me." Wuxia sneered. "What a joke, you want to get the first place. The first place belongs to me." Jinsheng confronted each other, and their auras collided. Their bodies were filled with divine force, and a terrifying light flowed out. "The two of you are really narcissistic, wanting to get the first place. Do you think you're worthy?" At this time a young man stepped out, forming a triangle with Jinsheng and Wuxia. Yangcheng, another existence that controlled Saint-grade divine force. Jinsheng and Wuxia both had serious looks in their eyes. The test this time is about talent and comprehension, as well as combat experience. You won't get first place just because you have a high level of divine power. A cold voice sounded. A young man from the Naga tribe stepped out and joined the confrontation. "That's right. Even if one's divine power level is high, it doesn't necessarily mean that one's future achievements will be high. As long as one has divine techniques, there will be plenty of people who will surpass one's predecessors." Another young man stepped forward. Bang! Bang! Following that, powerful auras erupted as more and more young geniuses joined in the confrontation. There were more than a dozen of them. Amazing! They are all ranked first in their respective regions. Someone exclaimed. These youths who had joined the confrontation were all ranked first in their respective regions in the first round. Each of them was full of confidence, arrogance, and conceit. They were not weaker than others. Not only these people, but those who were ranked second and third in their respective regions were also filled with confidence. In the first round, it didn't mean that one was stronger just because they had the highest points. Sometimes luck was also needed. Some people had low points, but that didn't mean that they weren't strong. These people were also filled with fighting spirit. They wanted to compete with Jin Sheng, Wuxia, and the others. Lu Ming smiled casually and took a few steps back. He couldn't be bothered to compete with these people. It was useless to say anything now. They would know when they fought in 2 years. Then let's fight in 2 years, Wuxia said coldly. He then glanced coldly at Lu Ming. His body moved, and he led the Naga tribe's prodigies into the stone-steel forest. Jin Sheng and the others also rushed into the stone-steel forest and disappeared. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Following that, the others rushed into the stone-steel forest in a flash. This time, there were only 2,000 people. They looked scattered and scattered. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared into the stone-steel forest. However, different people had different choices. Some people rushed into the stone-steel forest to find a new incomplete divine skill to cultivate. For example, most people would choose an incomplete speed-type divine skill, or an incomplete defense-type divine skill. Combined with an incomplete offensive divine skill, the power would definitely be stronger. However, in this way, comprehending several incomplete divine skills at the same time was bound to consume a lot of energy. Some people directly passed through the stone-steel forest and rushed into the other side of the stone-steel forest. They entered the training ground to find desolate beasts to kill, and focus on cultivating an incomplete divine skill. As long as an incomplete divine skill was cultivated to an extremely high level, its power would be equally shocking. Everyone had their own choices. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing separated. Lu Ming wandered around the stone-steel forest. Lu Ming also planned to choose another incomplete divine skill to cultivate. His comprehension was high enough. Choosing another divine skill was the way to go. Not long after, Lu Ming chose an incomplete speed divine skill. This incomplete divine skill actually had a name. Rock Wings Technique. It evolved from comprehending the flight of the rock. Once used, it was like a rock spreading its wings. Its speed was astonishing. Similarly, this incomplete divine skill was divided into 7 levels. Lu Ming carefully comprehended it. After more than a month, Lu Ming finally gained entry. After gaining entry, Lu Ming did not continue cultivating here. He passed through the stone-steel forest and came to the other side. He wanted to enter the training ground to find desolate beasts to kill. This way, his cultivation speed would be the fastest. On the other side of the stone-steel forest, there were huge caves. There were a total of 72 caves that led to different training grounds. These whole emptiness realms were not here the last time they entered. They only appeared this time. Lu Ming casually walked into a cave. After passing through the cave, a boundless plain appeared in front of him. Roar! Roar! On the plain, the roars were like thunder. They could see huge desolate beasts roaming around. Some desolate beasts were already fighting with some youths. Rock Wings Technique. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He circulated the Rock Wings Technique with the power of a ruler. A pair of invisible wings seemed to appear behind his back, increasing his speed greatly as he rushed towards the plain. Roar! Soon, a desolate beast that looked like a lion, about 10 meters tall, pounced towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming did not retaliate. He executed the Rock Wings Technique and dodged the desolate beast's attack. He went around the desolate beast and went deep into the plain. On the way, desolate beasts constantly attacked Lu Ming. Lu Ming used the Rock Wings Technique to dodge them. This way he could train his Rock Wings Technique. As he went deeper, Lu Ming did not know how far he had gone. At this point, he could no longer see any other young elites. At this point, Lu Ming finally stopped. Roar! Roar! In an instant, a few desolate beasts pounced towards Lu Ming. These desolate beasts were not very strong. Some of them were equivalent to level 1 empty god realm. Some were level 2 and level 3 empty god realm. There were fewer of them. Of course, there were level 4 empty god realm beasts or beasts above level 4 empty god realm. Of course, there were even fewer of them. Lu Ming condensed a long spear in his palm. At the same time, he executed the rock wings technique and charged towards the few desolate beasts. The spear radiance flashed and the roars were like thunder. The tough training had begun. With the desolate beasts as training, the speed of improvement of the incomplete divine skill would be much faster. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.